For today's review, we are looking at Red Hood. Now, before I talk about the figure and the included accessories, let's take a quick look at the data profile card. So as you can see, there is an image of the character design in the comic book art form, and this is based off of the Dawn of DC source material, which I have yet to read. And on the back, it reads, Jason Todd was the second Robin and easily the most troubled, angry, and with a desperate need to prove himself. Jason's impulsive behavior led to his death at the hands of the Joker. Resurrected to become the heroic Red Hood, Jason now walks his own path, learning to handle the anger that forged him. So, Red Hood as a character is quite interesting. He's probably one of my favorite Robins, especially when he goes down the Red Hood route, because he's the first one to cross the line that Batman doesn't cross. And the reason for that is because Batman left him to die. Not on purpose. Batman did not know that he survived the explosion. And for years, Batman assumed that he was dead. But eventually, he learned that this character, or this individual in this case, called the Red Hood, who's been basically carrying out vigilante justice by killing criminals, is Jason Todd. And eventually, after all this, Jason basically reforms slowly and starts to adopt the no-kill policy, and basically starts to be more of similar to Batman, where he just neutralizes his criminals without killing them. And that's how he slowly returns back to the Bat family down the road. But of course, it took time for that to happen. It wasn't like right away. So from what I can understand from the summary of this particular version of the character, it seems like this is basically what it is. It's about him going down that path of redemption, or reforming himself, I guess. If you read this comic book run, you could tell me what this is actually about. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how his character has always been to me, because that's how they depicted him. So, yeah. All right, let's talk about the accessories that are included. So, he comes with this short katana-looking blade, which is interesting. I don't know the actual names of what these swords are called, but there is a proper name to this. And he also comes with a crowbar. This is not a new accessory. They have given plenty of figures a freaking crowbar in the past. And now I can add another crowbar to the accessory bin. I get the symbolism. However, I do want to point out something really quickly. As you can see, he's holding two swords in his hands. I don't know how hard it was to, give him maybe one more of this. Just one more accessory, but they did not. And on the figure, he has two gripping hands, as you can see. And he also has two pairs of fist hands. So, yeah, those are included. And I guess if you want to count this as an accessory, but I don't, because they all come with this, the figure stand. So, there you go. Those are all the accessories. Now, we can talk about the figure. And I want to start with his face. I like this head sculpt. I like the face mask. It's painted in this metallic red. I like the battle damage that is visible on there. I don't know if my camera is going to pick that up. If you can kind of see it, it's right there. So pretty cool. And overall, I like the way that they retooled that Arkham Knight Red Hood figure. Because I think some of the pieces on here, if I remember correctly, and I'm going to bring in that Red Hood later in the video to compare, but I'm pretty sure some of these are like retooled. I'm pretty sure they're the same parts, except for maybe the upper area right here, like all this is new, but down here is like retooled. I could be wrong, but it looks like it is, especially the waist piece. That is definitely the same waist, just the belt has been changed. But I like the execution of how they retooled everything, so it looks different, kind of, and it works. For example, the pants that he's wearing, I like the line symmetry down here with the wrinkles. I like these pockets. It looks like cargo pants. I could be completely wrong, but they kind of remind me of what cargo pants look like. And there is a die cut right here because this figure does have a motorcycle, and I unfortunately do not have the motorcycle yet. It did not go on sale. If it did, I would have bought that and done the review with this figure in one video, but that's not going to happen since, you know, that motorcycle did not go on sale. But expect a video for that in the future whenever I do pick it up. And also, here are his boots. I like the way that those are nicely sculpted with the straps. And the bottom of his feet are red, so pretty cool. And his jacket is pretty much textured. I don't like the glossiness of this part. It's not supposed to be this color. For some reason, they made it that color, even though in this image, it's like all red. So, I don't know. And also, another thing that I wish they did not do, and here's the thing. This could have been something completely different. So, they've been using cloth wired goods in terms of the capes. It would have been nice if this was not, you know, soft PVC like this that's glued in, and it was like actual cloth goods. They could have made some sort of wired cloth jacket thing. I don't know. Maybe it costs more. Probably that's why they didn't do it. But with the fact that he has a hood on, and this is like a thick piece of like soft PVC plastic, it limits his head from having any sort of mobility, so he's not going to move his head at all. But if they use some sort of similar component to what they did with the Dune 2 figures, where they had an actual separate cloth hoodie piece that can be pulled down, maybe it would have worked better than this. That would have allowed his head to actually move. So, yeah, they did not do that. So, unfortunately, you're not going to get any head movement from this figure at all. Just like the Arkham Knight Red Hood, the same issue. So, that's the only bummer there. But, nevertheless, everything else is very nicely textured, like the inner side. I mean, not inner side, the inside shirt that he's wearing. And also, the emblem right here is actually sculpted. It's not printed on. They've been printing on the emblems for most of their figures now, especially because they've been reusing that one particular body buck that they love to reuse a lot lately, right? And these are kind of like, I call them bandages. I don't know what these are. But if you watch anime, yeah, well, you know what these are. A lot of anime characters tend to have them strapped on their arm, right? And on the back, he has kind of like a harness thing, and this is for weapon storage, so if you want to store his sword back here, you can. It actually goes in pretty nicely. You can also store his crowbar, which is another thing you can do, but honestly, the crowbar is kind of whatever. I don't want that on this figure. Yeah. But that is basically all the aesthetics to the figure. Now, we can talk about articulation. So, like I said, you're not going to get any head movement. He's not going to look up or down. He can barely, you know, turn his head at all because of the fact that that hood limits him. As for other parts of his body, his arms can go out. They can go all the way back and forth. They do have double jointed, and the hands do swivel, and there is upper swivel here by the shoulders, right? So all that works fine. And there is a articulation by the hands down here is a hinge joint, but mine are very tight. They don't move. So I have to heat those up in order to get those to move. As for his upper torso, I don't really think it's going to move because of the fact that this entire inside is just very tight. So there is movement in the waist area. That's, yeah, a little bit. But the upper part I don't think is really going to move. It's really tight. Maybe if I heat it up, it will. So, And the same thing with this side, the arms move the same way. So, yeah. As for the legs, can he spread his legs out? Kinda. Good enough. Better than some figures can. Can he kick out? Pretty decently. But still alright. He can also double joint. Really good. He also has thigh cuts, as I said, so these do move. And he has feet articulation and toe articulation. So, pretty standard Mcfarlane articulation. Nothing too crazy, but still, you can probably get him into some sort of action poses if you know how to pose your figure. And I do want to talk about one other thing before we do the comparison. I did see an image of someone actually cutting the hoodie off, like removing all that. And the underside of his, or not underside, his hairline is really funny looking. It's like not supposed to be shown. The fact that he does have hair underneath is good, but there's like all this texturing on his hair that looks very unnatural to how like, for example, like if you take a look at this Hal Jordan, right? Like, you know how usually they sculpt hair? There's like a style to it. His is like embedded with like textures. That basically means that you're not supposed to take the hood off. But it is really funny that some people have removed the hoodies so they can do customizations to it. And you see his hairstyle and it's like, what is this? So yeah, I'm not going to take the hood off of this because, it's not meant to be removed. But if I do ever want to customize it with like some cloth good thing somehow, maybe I'll consider. But for now, I'm going to leave him alone the way he is. But it is funny to see images of that. So if you haven't seen images of it, do search it up. It is hilarious. So yeah. All right, let's bring in the other Red Hood for comparison because I do want to show the two of them side by side. So as you can see, they do share parts in terms of what they reuse. For example, let me use the sword as a way to point it out. You can see that the waist piece, definitely the same, right? The belt pieces are actually completely different, which is really good. The legs, the reason why I think they look the same is because, like, from the back, I don't know, they look similar. Kinda. No, not exactly, actually. Maybe the joint is the same, but, like, it doesn't look the same, actually. They retooled a good amount. Wow, actually. They retooled a good amount. I could be completely wrong with the legs. Maybe it's just me thinking that they are the same legs. Or they just got really good at retooling those legs to look different in terms of the sculpt. But it could be completely new. Because, what is it? The feet, for example. I think the feet are the same. Yeah, the feet are the same. Those are reused for sure. So there are similar parts there. And then another area that they did reuse are the hands. So the gripping hands are the same as the gripping hands that were included with this figure. It's just the sculpting are somewhat a little bit different, like they did paint those red. But I guess like some of it is reused. As for the torso, they are completely different, not the same. Arms are actually different, which is good. I don't like the way that they did the arms for this, especially with the way they did the bicep cup for the swivel up here, because my copy has like a weird gap that is actually visible. And also what I like about this one is that the neck is actually visible. Like you can see the neck. This one, the neck is like kind of visible, but the hoodie is like pushing his like head down a little bit, so there's not really much of a neck to see. So that was one of the problems I had with this Red Hood. But unfortunately, this is the only Arkham Knight Red Hood that I think Mcfarlane will ever make. I don't know if they'll ever remake another one. If they do, it'll probably be some sort of repaint, and it'll probably just reuse the same mold. So there is that other one in the game where in that moment where he throws off the Arkham Knight helmet, he shows the Red Hood helmet. So if they ever do make that into a figure, that'll be cool. But I have a weird feeling that they're going to reuse the Arkham Knight mold for that, which is not going to be fun. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to. So, yeah. I have nothing to say about that. As for everything else on this new figure, most of it seems like it's new. Just certain pieces were carried over, but it seems like they didn't reuse a whole lot, which is good. So, yeah. All right. With that said, I think that is going to be the review for this new Red Hood. It is definitely an improvement from the Arkham Knight Red Hood in terms of how to reuse parts. And the only sad thing is that both these figures will suffer from their hoodies. But if I had to recommend a Red Hood figure, go with the new one. The Arkham one is not bad. If you're really a fan of the Arkham Knight Red Hood, I don't know if this is like the best option right now. Like, it just seems like it's not. Maybe go with like a other company if they ever made one, if you can afford it, but it's not worth picking up the Mcfarlane one because they actually did a bad job with it. So, yeah. That is my thoughts on that Red Hood. Unfortunately, it's not good. But the new one, I say this is a little bit better. So go with this new one if you need a Red Hood figure. Because that new 52 version, yeah, that's not happening. That one is like very expensive now. So even someone like me who missed out on it, I'm not even going to spend the money to try to get that because it's not cheap. We're talking about like in the 200s. It's crazy how overpriced it is now. Yeah. All right. If you found this scuff review informative, do give it a like. If you want to subscribe to my channel for more content like this or whatever else I do on my channel, you can. You don't have to. In the end of the day, I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care and I will see you in the next video.